Hey guys, how's it going? In today's episode, I'm reviewing the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S Ultra High Performance Summer Tires. So it's been a really good season for modding my Challenger RT this year. And one of the goals that I had set out when I started this season was I really wanted to, by the end of the year, have my car on a road course track. Now, the Eagle RSAs that I had on the front of the car were about ready to be changed, and I had to figure out what I was going to replace them with on the front. Something that would hopefully add quite a bit of performance over the factory Eagle RSAs. A lot of times when you see people start looking at adding modifications to improve the handling of their Challenger, they'll put on a strut tower brace and then go and post on the forums asking about if it's worth it to cut out their rear trunk liner to put on a rear strut tower brace, all the while running the factory sway bars and some really crappy tires on it that seemed like they were just an afterthought. And this is kind of a backwards way of looking at improving handling. As a rule of thumb, you should improve the stuff that's closest to the road first, and that's going to make the biggest difference on your handling. You'll notice the biggest improvements. Things like your tires, your sway bars, springs, stuff like that will make a big difference on your handling, way more than strut tower braces ever will. So having tackled my sway bars, my diff bushings, my trailing arms, my sway bar Endlinks, my cradle bushings, and put on some nice lowering springs and performance shocks, new tires was kind of the last hurdle I had before I felt pretty confident in taking out and trying to tackle the 14 turns out at Rad Torque Raceway Park. So when I started shopping for tires, the tires at the very top of my list were the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S Ultra Performance Summer Tires. And why are these at the very top of my list? Well, they claim that the Pilot Sport 4S was designed specifically with endurance racing in mind, setting their benchmark for dry traction and exceptional performance in wet conditions. They claim that the Sport 4S was first in dry lap time, dry braking, wet lap time, wet braking, as well as being really highly regarded by performance enthusiasts everywhere. So these were the factors that made me decide to put these tires on my car. But there's always negatives to every tire. There's no such thing as a perfect tire out there. Some of the negatives of this tire include the really high price tag. They're very expensive. These have a low tire wear rating, so they wear out fairly quickly, partially because they're so grippy. I mean, it's a toss-up. You have one or the other. You have really good grip and low wear, or not as great grip and long tread life. So that's kind of the trade-off. And as well, these are only a 3-season tire, so you can only run them in good weather. They're not meant for cold weather. Now, I bought these tires at the start of spring, and I plan to review them pretty much immediately to give you guys a tire review on these, especially because I needed to put something out at the time, and I needed to appease the YouTube algorithm goblins. So with these tires being on the front of my car and being tasked with trying to steer 4,100 pounds of fun on wheels, the Pilot Sport 4S's honestly handled it way too easy. There's no way I could push them to brake traction on either wet or dry conditions. The best I can do was push them really hard on freeway on-ramps, and even still, they never felt at any point like it was about to lose control of the car or brake traction, or you were right on the edge of traction. They honestly just ate up those curves heading onto the freeway at ease. The only way I think I could really push them to the point that I might get them to exceed their limit would be just driving kind of dangerously and driving like an asshole out there, and that's not something I was really ready to do and put other drivers at risk just for a tire review. The problem was I also didn't want to just put out a bland review just saying, well, I don't know, I think they're good, but I don't know. I didn't want to be uninformative. I really wanted to push these tires and not just put out a bland review of, yeah, they're good. So I decided to wait a few months until I could test these out doing what these were designed to do: race on a track and push these to kind of extreme conditions that I just couldn't do on the street. YouTube gods be damned. Now, just a disclaimer, as I know a lot of Challenger and muscle car owners would be asking themselves whether or not these cars will allow them to hook up if they put them on the rear of their cars. In my own personal experience, I've completely given up on conventional tires as far as hooking up and getting traction doing hard launches with my car. I honestly feel like any Challenger owner should be looking at putting drag radials in the rear of these cars, like Mickey Thompson ET Street SS's or a Nitto Tri-5 R2 at absolute minimum. I feel like these cars just put out way too much torque to try to get them under control with just regular tires. They just don't cut it. You need at least drag radials, especially on the street. So after months of sitting on these tires and this review, the day finally came where I could get out to the track to really test these out.
Yeah, I'll have to pay attention to that one a little.
Yeah, but it's doing great.
Thanks, man. Should have straightened that up.
Now, while I was still getting my bearings, learning the ins and outs of the track and spending multiple sessions in classroom and then with my driving instructor and then in the classroom and then back out with my driving instructor, there are definitely a few things I noticed about this Pilot Sport 4S's on track. And for the most part, these tires were absolutely excellent. I felt absolutely confident pushing my car really hard into all these turns without worry about not having the traction and skidding off track. You could definitely feel super confident, especially on the front end of the car. It seemed like you just never had to worry about losing that traction. Even here, where I'm pushing my car to the limit of traction, I feel really confident with these tires, knowing that I could enter corners with high rates of speed and knowing that the tires would give me the grip I needed to pull through an apex of a turn and leave with a maximum speed out the other side. One thing that I did notice about 6 or 7 laps in, or towards the end of a lapping session, is the tires definitely started to heat up and they would understeer a little when you were entering turns. You can hear them screeching a little bit in this clip right here where I was near the end of this lapping session.
Deeper, 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 right here, yeah.
Now, this isn't a trait that's only specific to the Michelin Sport 4S tires. Any tire, once you get them too heated after a few laps, need to do cool down laps so they regain the bite that they had at the start of the lapping. Otherwise, you're going to burn your tires out and you're going to pretty much end your race day fairly early. But any tire will do that. One thing I did notice is during our breaks, in between our lapping sessions, walking around talking to a lot of the other drivers in the paddock, is they had the same issues they were running into with the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's. Is after 6 or 7 laps or so, they would definitely need to do a cool down lap because they would notice that the tires would start to lose their grip and start to understeer a bit, just overheating. So they'd know that they had to cool them down. They had the exact same thoughts and the exact same experience as me. So that was good. It was consistent. I knew that what I was experiencing was just kind of generally how these tires wore. One other thing that was also a blessing and a curse, a blessing for this review because we get to test out more than one facet of driving with these Michelin Pilot Sport 4Ss, is it started raining later in the day.
So you can go further out, yeah. And then it's blind. Tighter, good. Tighter, yeah.
Yeah, she's a little slick on the back end.
Now, one thing I can tell you that was mainly on my mind when going out to lap in the rain was my Mickey Thompson ET Street SSs that are in the rear that were generously worn on this track day. So I was really worried about losing the rear of the car the entire time running in the rain. But one thing that I wasn't nervous about was the front end of my car and losing control of that. The Michelin Pilot Sport 4Ss just honestly gripped even in the rain. There was at no point that I was worried about losing my front end, even pushing it fairly hard, entering into a corner. Obviously, those tires are the first thing that are going to give you the control to enter and after you hit your braking zone and start to steer towards your apex. At no point did I ever feel like I was losing control of the front of the car. So after pushing these tires to the max on track, what are my final thoughts? I think the Pilot Sport 4S is an excellent tire, and honestly, I can't see myself giving it up anytime soon. When these guys wear out, especially if I end up tracking them a few times and kind of being a little harder on them and wearing them out soon, I'm probably just going to buy another set because these tires are honestly excellent. They're all I can ask for a street tire that I can go and race out of the track really comfortably and confidently and still put up good lap times and keep up with the pack, no problem. And because they perform so well on the track, there's no question that they'll handle anything that you can throw at them on the street. They exceed any situation that you're going to be able to push these tires on the street. They are excellent. I highly, highly recommend them. Anyways, guys, I hope you found this review helpful, especially if you're looking at replacing the tires on the fronts of your Challengers, something to upgrade your handling. Definitely look into the Michelin Pilot Sport 4Ss. These tires are excellent and you won't be disappointed. Except for your wallet might hurt a little bit, and especially when you have to replace them after taking them out to the track a bunch of times, but whatever. It's life is short. Buy all the things. Anyways, guys, thanks so much. Glad you checked this out, and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.